Hey, welcome to a very special on-snow ride review of the 2024 Catalyst Riot 600. As many of you may know, maybe you don't know, I was involved with the Arctic Cat new model photo shoot in Wyoming for the 2024 models. And during our downtime, free time, if you will, they gave us a chance to ride on trails with some of the biggest names in snowmobiling, such as Todd Tupper, Riley Kincaid, and Dave McClure. Three of the nicest guys I've ever met. They're great individuals, excellent ambassadors for the Arctic Cat brand. I can't say enough good things about those guys. That experience alone was very memorable, but along with that, one of our trail rides, I got a chance to ride the new Catalyst Riot 600 and compare that directly to the Riot 8000, 9000 EPS models, all for 2024. You know, there's nothing wrong with the what I call the Procross-based Riot like mine. I bought it, I like it, I'm keeping it, and I want to keep riding it. However, in my opinion, the Catalyst is better in every way. Let's talk about the engine and drivetrain real quick. I didn't really notice a huge difference between the 800 engine and the new Catalyst 600. Think about that for a minute. We were at about anywhere between 7,500 and 8,500 feet above sea level, give or take. We went up and down quite a bit. These were one-of-one sleds. We were basically told by the mechanics to bring it back in one piece because it's all they had. We were pretty careful about that. So within those boundaries, I couldn't tell whether I was riding a 600 or an 800. Part of that, I think, is because the 600 has been redesigned. They reworked the fuel mapping and throttle response is better. Part of it is the significant weight loss of the Catalyst, giving the 600 a much better power to weight ratio. But I believe part of it was also in the redesigned drivetrain, which includes a belt drive. I'm talking about the belt that replaces the chain case. Let's call that the final drive. So there are now two belts on the Catalyst. On one side is the PTO side, the normal drive belt that we think of with a snowmobile. And on the other side is a belt that replaces the chain. There's no play in that final drive belt. So the transition between forward and reverse is invisible. There's no clunking or jerking. I also thought it was quieter, but I think one of the main benefits to the belt drive is basically invisible to me because I didn't have a way to compare it. And that is a much better transfer of power because there's less rotating mass. It helps the 600 feel stronger. The Catalyst Riot has a 39-inch ski stand. I have a 43-inch on mine. That's a 4-inch difference. However, the Catalyst was so much better at cornering that it actually felt like it was the opposite. It felt like my Riot is the one that had the narrower ski stance, and the new Riot was wider. That's how good it is. It was amazing how much better the Riot handled, even though it had a narrower ski stance. Seating position on the Catalyst Riot is also much better. I was concerned that there wasn't going to be enough seat area for me to be comfortable. Kind of like the Skidoo seat where you kind of slide forward. I was afraid of that with this seat. That's not the case. It's a nice flat seat. You sit where you want to sit, kind of like a Polaris seat. You sit where you want to sit. It's narrow in the front, so it makes movement a lot easier. So when you go to corner, you just kind of slide forward a little bit. It's so much easier to get in over the inside ski and keep that ski down. And your seating position allows you to take bumps much better too. It's a much better seat for trail riding. I noticed the lighter weight and lower center of gravity of all of the Catalyst snowmobiles immediately. And it's profound how much better, the Catalyst Riot and all the Catalyst snowmobiles ride on the trail. They corner like crazy. Well, I didn't take it off trail. I was there when the mountain riders did, and if you see my video on my travelogue video on the photo shoot, there was a little bit of footage in there from that. They were very impressed with it. To hear them say good things about it off trail and then my experiences on trail, it really impressed me. But let's talk about the bad too. Arctic Cat said they redesigned the cooling system to save weight. Between the lines, when I hear stuff like that, I think it's not going to cool as well, that they've removed some of the cooling capacity. I had hoped that the new Riot would be less prone to overheating, but it's not. On hard-packed trails, I overheated the new Riot at least as often, maybe more often than mine. It's manageable, but inconvenient. A lot of people don't talk about overheating on the longer track snowmobiles. I think it's probably a given. On the Riot, because it's a crossover, you kind of expect it to cool as well as a shorter track trail sled, but it doesn't. That heat exchanger being out farther out there or something, I don't know what it is about it, but I'm always watching the temperature gauge on my Riot, and it looks like the Catalyst Riot, you're going to have to do the same thing, unfortunately. This is another kind of knock on all of the Catalyst sleds. I had wished that they had redesigned the buttons on the left-hand handlebar, because I have a hard time keeping track of which button I'm pushing. I don't know what it is about it, but especially in the dark, I have a hard time feeling it, and without color coding, it really is hard to tell where you're supposed to be pushing. You know, if you had like yellow buttons, green buttons, blue buttons, anything like that, it's going to be a lot easier to pick them up and know which one you're pushing. Found myself turning handlebar heaters on and off when all I really wanted to do was hit my high beams. One other thing about the Catalyst, I think the seat is a little too firm for trail riding. Maybe for longer distances it would get pretty hard. I'm not sure about that. Maybe the aftermarket will solve that problem. Maybe it doesn't need to be solved, but I thought it was pretty firm. So in summary, all the Catalyst snowmobiles, the lighter weight and lower center of gravity are immediately noticeable and amazing. The smaller engine actually feels as strong, not only because of the improved power to weight ratio, but also the new belt drive. The Catalyst is so much better in the corners, it's jaw-dropping. And again, that includes the Riot, which is supposed to be a 50-50 crossover, handled very well on trail. Seating position allows the rider to handle bumpy trails much better because you're closer to the center of gravity. The snowmobile actually rocks instead of slamming you into the bumps. Off-trail capabilities also appear to be enhanced because of the narrower ski stance and all of the Catalyst improvements. As a negative, I think the new Riot is prone to overheat almost as often on the trails as my older Riot, and that's unfortunate. The new Riot is very close to perfect in terms of being a crossover. It's better both on and off trail in my experience. The Catalyst platform overall is what Arctic Cat fans and owners and potential buyers have been waiting for, and it's amazing. I hope this review was helpful. Thanks for watching. And as always, I hope I see you on the trail.